next story I want to talk about.
Yeah.
High-speed rail and railroad construction in the United States. This got me so excited. I feel like a lot of our generation loves high-speed rail and loves like trains. I don't really know why.
Maybe Thomas was a big part of it. Thomas the Tank Engine was a big part of my childhood.
Dude, you know how many Thomas the Tank Engine toys I have in my basement?
Yeah, I had a whole train table when I was a kid.
Dude, I did too.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I built, and my dad would always like take me down to the railroads and watch them.
Did you have like wooden tracks that you would connect to? Me too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just like an average white guy experience, I guess, growing up.
I guess there's something about just stuff going on tracks. Like I also had the marble tracks, like roller coaster type
hell
things.
yeah.
So cool.
Did you ever get the Hot Wheels thing with the orange things? And did you ever do that?
Yeah, and they had like the loop-de-loops that
Yes.
you put them on. Yeah.
Love it.
It's awesome.
That's sick. Yeah, we just need that to be our national infrastructure.
Yes.
So the Biden administration has allocated money to Amtrak and other railroad companies across the United States to build out the largest investment in U.S. rail in years. The first thing I want to talk about is high-speed rail project going from California to Las Vegas. This is a huge, huge deal. There is $3.1 billion that is going, there is $3 billion for a project that is going from Las Vegas into Southern California. This is a 218-mile intercity passenger system. And again, I want to emphasize this is a high-speed rail. Brightline, which is the country's only private intercity passenger railroad, is already operating high-speed rail services between Miami and Orlando. And they are now going to have this operation going in from Las Vegas to Southern California. The company expects it to open before the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, which would be just an awesome way to bring in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. Secretary Pete Buttigieg had the transportation secretary had a lot to say about this. He said, "We are not there today for the simple reason that you get what you pay for. And America disinvested over the last many decades in our rail system, and we are now reversing that trend. And we can see it. So we have Southern California being connected to Las Vegas. That is huge with high-speed rail. Now we have $3.1 billion that is going towards the construction of a 171-mile segment of the California high-speed rail system between Merced and Bakersfield. California has had a long and troublesome history with high-speed rail. It was first promised to be achieved in 2030 to connect San Francisco to... no, wait, you know what? Let's rewind a little bit, okay? Can I clap again?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. This 171-mile segment between Merced and Bakersfield is going to be completed by 2030. Well, this promise doesn't ring very well on Californians' ears because they have a long and troublesome history with high-speed rail. So California passed a high-speed rail project back in 2008 that was supposed to be done by 2020. That was supposed to connect San Francisco to Los Angeles. Well, what year is it? It's 2023, and exactly 0 tracks have been laid down for that high-speed rail project.
Insane.
The estimated cost has grown from $33 billion to $100 billion today, and not a single track has been laid. There are a bunch of reasons for this, but the main one that I was able to find with different executive directors of the project and what they cited were the main issues was the political battles of where this train was going to connect from changed everything. So originally it was like, okay, we're going to connect San Francisco to Los Angeles. But then all the other representatives in the California government wanted it to get closer and closer to their districts, naturally, because this is going to be such a booming economic incentive, right? Well, it had to take that means that now it has to take a detour through the Mojave Desert, which is a part of a string of decisions that have impeded the state's ability to deliver on the promise of doing this and transporting these people in an era of climate change. Because the main idea was we need to stop having flights from San Francisco to LA. That just can't be happening. We need to have an alternative because that's just a waste.
Totally.
Yeah. So people are saying very, very mean things. The one of the directors of the project said that the politicians have totally betrayed the public which is just intense.
Yeah.
So they routed the train across a geologically complex mountain pass in the Bay Area, which they didn't necessarily have to do, but they had to do it if they wanted to connect these different areas that were not a part of the original plan proposed on the 2008 ballot. They dictated that construction would begin in the center of the state, in the agricultural heartlands, not at either of the urban ends where tens of million people are expected to are currently living. So now they're starting the building on the eastern side of California, which is where Merced and Bakersfield is. So that's the main line where Merced and Bakersfield is that innermost portion of the California rail system that they want to be completed by 2030. There's also been a huge problem connecting Burbank with Palmdale. This presents a massively complex engineering challenge that requires 38 miles of tunnels and 16 miles of elevated structures, according to environmental reports. And all this was avoidable if, you just traveled along the coast to get from San Francisco to LA. But instead they brought it around the other end.
It seems like a sad but great example of government getting in the way of progress.
Oh, it is. Right? I mean, this is a perfect example.
And I'm sure part of why it was delayed so much and no track was ever laid is also because of the permitting that got in the way, and that all needed to be done in all of these localities to be able to lay any track.
Yes. Now I'll say this: the from Merced to Bakersfield, this is where the tracks are at least under construction. Okay, and the Merced to Madra and King to Tulare to Bakersfield, these are places that are under pre-construction, but there are that whole line, that Central Valley thing, is in the works. Then when you get out and you go from Bakersfield to Palmdale or Merced to Gilroy, that's where we have the environmental stuff. And now those places, the environments are cleared. But we still have areas from Palmdale to Burbank and Anaheim to Los Angeles where environmental review is still underway, and the environmental review is expected to take another 2 years, up till 2025. There are installation of track systems going on right now in San Francisco and San Jose, which is really, really awesome to see. But again, it's not up and running or anything. So this is where we're at. It's been a long and troublesome ride, but I'm hopeful once Merced and Bakersfield is connected by 2030, we can start seeing the benefits of it, and then politicians and business leaders could take it a little more seriously, and environmental regulators can really get off their butts. But this is a problem with government right here. This is a bad government program. This is bad.
This has been a huge failure. It kind of makes the California government a laughingstock. It's hard because this needs to appease the state government and all of the local governments.
Exactly.
Right. But then again, I'm wondering what is so different about an Amtrak versus this, besides the fact that there's going to be so much more scrutiny and more hands that want to get into the pie because there's a more delicious pie.
Well, I'll tell you, they can't do an Amtrak project here because they need the higher speeds.
Oh, yeah. I'm not suggesting they do an Amtrak. I'm just saying Amtrak, I haven't heard of any kind of delays to this extent with an Amtrak project.
No, it hasn't happened.
Right. So there's something different about high-speed rail, and I feel like that's because it's so much more desirable.
Yeah, it's so much, I want a high-speed rail going through my city. Yes, please,
Yeah.
And this is embarrassing when we compare it to China and how much massive amounts of high-speed rail track they've been able to lay down over the last decade, and we're a decade behind now.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna connect Merced and Bakersfield by 2030. All right, look. I'm not from California, all right? But I didn't know these places existed until Bakersfield I knew about. But like all these other ones, I didn't know they existed until I'm looking at this map for the first time. And it's like, was this really the priority? Or maybe should we be focused on connecting San Francisco and Los Angeles, some of the two major economic centers of the United States, together first, right?
Exactly. It's one of these, it's like we're getting in our way. China doesn't have to worry about getting a bunch of its regional actors on the same page to get something done because everything comes down from the top.
Yeah.
This is something where we want to be able to have direction come down from the top a little bit harder. We don't have a dictator, but we have a governor in California, and we have a completely blue state government, right? That should be able to say, okay, even if we're kind of doing this the wrong way and that we're not listening to everyone's calls for the high-speed rail to go through their city, let's take it upon ourselves to make the judgment that we're going to just build track from San Francisco to LA. And then if we want to go from there, we'll go from there.
Yes. Prove that it works. Like, that's the big thing. Prove that it works. Because right now, you look like a bunch of laughingstocks.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like, should we even invest in high-speed rail? Right now, it just looks like a money sink.
Exactly.
But if you could just have a proving operating model, maybe it would have been great. Yeah. Maybe if you started small, San Francisco to San Jose, just prove that would have worked.
Exactly.
Right?
Even LA to Anaheim. Like, that's one of the things I was thinking. Maybe if you just started small and you thought, let's go one of the tracks that would be near the end, right? We can start from the LA to Anaheim, and then we can think, okay, where do we want the next LA link to go to? And then we can build there. Yeah. But it's this, I don't know. And I think this is often a progressive problem. Like,
it is.
They seek the perfect and they sacrifice the good. Because
I'll tell you this. You know the phrase ready, aim, fire or whatever?
Okay.
Progressives get messed up. They go ready, aim.
No,
and then they never fire.
Yeah. They go ready, ready. Yeah.
They'll never do anything because they want it to just be perfect.
Yes.
And then you get nothing done.
Totally.
So that's what's the case here. But we have more good news, guys. Amtrak is expanding, and it's a huge improvement. Federal Railroad Administration has chosen Scranton to the United States Amtrak route to move forward. This is a huge deal. So this is Senator Baum Casey. He says, I am thrilled to make this long-awaited announcement. This is a significant milestone and represents years of dedicated efforts to restore passenger rail service, which will contribute to our region's economic growth and vitality. I can't think of anything more Joe Biden than connecting Scranton, Pennsylvania to New York City.
Yeah.
Right?
That's perfect.
Doesn't that play perfect into his brand?
Yes.
This is a really big deal. Senator Bob Casey, I want to look at this from the political angle for a second. Senator Bob Casey, he's up for re-election this year in Pennsylvania. So he's running a re-election campaign. Really great for him to go out and say that I got you this rail system to New York City. Matthew Cartwright, he's another Pennsylvania representative in the House. He is also running for re-election in a very, very borderline Trump district, if not Trump district. And he's a Democrat. And he's running for re-election, so that's a very good thing that he's able to announce. These two cities, Scranton and New York City, have not been connected by passenger rail since 1970. This rail system will go through Scranton, Mount Pocono, and East Stroudsburg. Now, this is what I love, because this is step one of rebuilding Middle America. Connecting Middle America to the metro centers is how you do this. Now, we just said, in California, maybe don't focus on connecting San Francisco over to Fresno, right?
Yeah.
But the issue here is Amtrak is tried and true and tested and proven, right? This high-speed rail thing, it still needs to be shown operable.
Okay.
And it needs to have good examples.
I'm still skeptical pending the cost.
Yeah.
Right? Because does Scranton, Mount Pocono, and East Stroudsburg really need to be able to get into New York City that easily?
That's a good question.
Do they really have that many people who wouldn't rather just drive?
Right. Is there an economic benefit to this?
Exactly. Like you have to always think cost benefit, and this is going to be a government investment.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good way to think about it. I definitely don't know the effects. I'm curious now. I wonder
see if I can find the funding.
Yeah. How much it cost?
Yeah.
Find that out. I don't know how much.
Only $500,000.
That's it?
Yeah, that seems worth it.
Then that's worth it. I guess Amtrak has had this plan for a long time. And Amtrak, right. If these plans take a long time to develop, they've probably done all this economic analysis to make that determination. There were probably a bunch of cities that they were going through trying to determine which ones to connect to New York City.
Sure.
And they picked Scranton at the end of the day.
You can say that, but then
there's political pressure to pick Scranton, not just economic incentives.
Oh, sure. And also just we just talked about an example of the government like planning something that went horribly, like planning a project that would cost $33 billion instead projected to cost $100 billion.
But I think there's a difference here, because the California example is when legislatures get too much in the room. Yeah. This is an example of bureaucrats doing it.
Okay.
Bob Casey's lobbying for a bureaucrat plan, really. Like, this is like an internal development from Amtrak.
Okay.
But I know what you mean, right? This is still government picking winners and losers. Is Scranton the right route? I don't know. But it's great. I just love seeing more places connected to the metro area by trains. I think, in the long run, it's, I think, more cost benefit than flying. So, and definitely better for the environment than car rides. So that's positive. This rail will be set up before 2028, so 5 years away. And again, this is not high-speed rail. The Amtrak is also giving more money to different studies. Wisconsin is getting $2.5 million to study Amtrak expansion from Milwaukee to Green Bay to Madison. Ben, I want you to scroll up to the top here and check out the proposed map and look how much shit is getting added in Wisconsin. All those dotted lines.
Yeah, that's really spidery.
Yeah, right? It's
Yeah.
everywhere. So that's awesome to see. On Wednesday, Representative Steve Cohen of Tennessee has announced that there's $500,000 in federal funding to secure an analysis of the project scope connecting Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, and Atlanta. So,
Wait, did you just say Chattanooga?
what is it?
Chattanooga? Damn it. That's funny. That's good.
Have you ever said Chattanooga in your life?
No, but my dad, I think, used to have to travel to Chattanooga.
Oh, I just said Chattanooga again. I thought
Yeah,
I was
you did.
right. Fuck. Oh my
That's why I thought you were. Have you ever said it wrong in your life? No, I haven't actually.
Have you said it correctly once in your life?
I've only ever said it correctly.
No, but I mean, like, have you? Fuck. You know what I mean, though. Like,
Have I said the word?
Have you said the word?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I haven't.
Well, now you know.
It's Chattanooga.
Yeah,
now
that's what the CH sound does in English.
yeah, shut up. I can think of one. I can think of multiple. I said one. I can think of multiple examples of ch not sounding like that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Can you? I can't think of any.
Choir.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, oh no, that's exactly what I mean. Thanks.
There we go.
Anyway,
I was curious because with this Wisconsin, I wanted to check the population growth to see. Well, one, I don't know how much movement happens between these cities, anyways, but I think these rail investments are going to be most effective in places where population is growing. And we've talked a lot about how the Rust Belt or the Sun Belt has seen growing population for a long time. We're talking about Texas cities like Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and then Phoenix and Arizona, Albuquerque and New Mexico. But I would expect Wisconsin might kind of fall into a similar category as far as like you have cities that aren't huge cities, but also like you kind of get the city aspect of living.
sure.
So I wonder, it says Wisconsin's population is supposed to grow by 14% between 2010 and 2040, which isn't huge. But it's something, and also I'm just pulling this out of my ass as far as how good of a, like how important it is
Well,
to
I think
building
it's an
rail.
interesting question. Do you think these railroads will increase population, like make the place more desirable to live and encourage people to move there, make it easier to travel for work, encourage economic investment? Do you think it, like, I think it could revitalize a lot of these communities, having them connected, right?
I think it might. It's hard for me to say because I've only thought about commuter rail as ever doing that. And I think Amtrak from, say, Scranton to New York City is almost equivalent to a commuter rail. But when I have thought of Amtrak generally, I'm talking about much
Right.
longer trips.
Right. I know people who commute with Amtrak from Boston to Providence.
Okay.
You can take the MBTA commuter rail, but that's an hour.
Okay.
If you take the Amtrak, it's 20 minutes.
I don't think that's true.
That's
Boston
not
to
right.
Providence?
No, it's not. It's like 35. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 35.
Okay.
But
I mean, that's still much shorter.
Yeah, it cuts down the time. Anyway, point is, a lot of rail being built up. It's very exciting to see.
Yeah.
I really like that the government is getting their hands involved in hard infrastructure like this.